Hello and welcome. And in this session, we discuss VALR section from XAT 2018. So we get going with the first question or paragraph, whatever it is. We have the paragraph. All right. Please read the passage below and answer the questions that follow. If history doesn't follow any stable rules, and if we cannot predict its future course, why study it? It often seems that the chief aim of science is to predict the future. Meteorologists are expected to forecast whether tomorrow will bring rain or sunshine. Economists should know whether devaluing the currency will avert or precipitate an economic crisis. Good doctors foresee whether chemotherapy or radiation therapy will be more successful in curing lung cancer. Similarly, historians are asked to examine the actions of our ancestors so that we can repeat their wise decisions and avoid their mistakes. But it never works like that, because the present is just too different from the past. It is a waste of time to study Hannibal's tactics in the Second Punic War so as to copy them in the Third World War. What worked well in cavalry battles will not necessarily be of much benefit in cyber warfare. Science is not just about predicting the future, though. Scholars in all fields often seek to broaden our horizons, thereby opening before us new and unknown futures. Broaden our horizons. This is especially true of history. Though historians occasionally try their hand at prophecy, that is, predicting, without notable success, the study of history aims above all to make us aware of possibilities we don't normally consider. Historians study the past not in order to repeat it, but in order to be liberated from it. Each and every one of us has been born into a given historical reality, ruled by particular norms and values, and managed by a unique economic and political system. We take this reality for granted, thinking it is natural, inevitable, and immutable. We forget that our world was created by an accidental chain of events, and that history shaped not only our technology, politics, and society, but also our thoughts, fears, and dreams. The cold hand of the past emerges from the grave of our ancestors, grips us by the neck, and directs our gaze towards a single future. The cold hand of the past. We have felt that grip from the moment we were born. So we assume that it is a natural and inescapable part of who we are. Therefore, we seldom try to shake ourselves free and envision alternative futures. Studying history aims to loosen the grip of the past. It enables us to turn our head this way and that and begin to notice possibilities that our ancestors could not imagine or did not want us to imagine. By observing the accidental chain of events that led us here, we realize how our very thoughts and dreams took shape, and we can begin to think and dream differently. Studying history will not tell us what to choose, but at least it gives us more options. All right, so now we go to the questions. Based on the passage, which of the following options would be the most appropriate for citizens to learn history? Why we should learn history? British names of streets in India should not be changed. We need to break free from the past. I want to break free. It says no, it should not. Eliminate it. Next, every street in India should display a plaque that lists all its previous names. All right. At least we know, through the plaque, we know the history of that particular street, and maybe that helps us in certain decisions as well. We hold it as of now. British names of streets in India should be changed to Indian names along with an explanation of their history. Now, if you change it to the Indian names and you simply remove the British names, chances are that we go against the passage that says, where it says that we should not forget the past. Okay, we should break free from it, but that does not mean that you forget it totally. So this is eliminated. Names of Indian streets should be based on suggestions generated through an opinion poll. Irrelevant, out of scope, not discussed anywhere. Names of Indian streets should be periodically changed. Now that makes it a process and has little to do with the utility or the failure of history. So this is out. We go back to B. Every street in India should display a plaque that lists all its previous names. Which of the following options is the closest to the essence of the passage, the central idea of the passage? Why has the author written this passage? History, unlike physics, does not help predict future. A notable success is not there. Doesn't mean it just does not predict. It is extreme option. Eliminated. History deals with long time periods. A moment gone is history. History documents the past events related to specific people. It is more of a study in general terms of our ancestors, not about specific person or maybe a group of persons. There is no strict cause and effect relationship in history. There is no strict cause and there is no strict. Of course there is cause and effect. If you go back to your school days and remember what they asked in class 7th history, it was the cause of a battle and the effects of a battle. So this is also eliminated. E, history has the potential to make us eclectic, basically to widen our horizons, to broaden our views, perspectives. I think we can happily go with E, history has the potential to make us eclectic. Next, read the following sentences. Historians successfully predicted a political crisis based on similar events of the last century. Okay, using the latest technology, doctors could decode the microbe causing the disease. Students who prepared for an examination by perusing past 10 years question papers did not do well in the examination. That is sad. A tribe in Andaman learns to predict epidemic outbreaks by listening to the stories of how their ancestors predicted the past outbreaks. This would be amazing actually. Which of the statements above, if true, would contradict the view of the author? Okay, now you got the question. A says a historian successfully predicted a political crisis based on similar events of the last century. Well, the author is not very much in favor of history being very right about predicting. I'm using too much of very. I'm really sorry for that. I'll try to repeat it. I'll try to explain it again. History is not very good at prediction. That is the author's viewpoint. Now, a historian successfully predicted. Now, this goes against the author's view. So, we have 1. This is gone. 2 and 3 is gone. 1. Okay, we have 3 options remaining. Using the latest technology, doctors could decipher the microbe causing the disease. It is talking about the latest technology and not related to history as such. So, option that have 2, they are eliminated. So, this is gone. And this is also gone. It should be D. Let's check 3 and 4. Students who prepared for an examination by perusing past 10 years question papers did not. Okay, this is what we did in class 8, 9th and 10th. We took previous 5 years question papers, sorted it out and could actually predict with great accuracy that these are the questions that are going to be asked in the coming test or examination. Here they failed. So they are this option is in agreement with the author. All right. 4th, a tribe in Andaman learns to predict epidemic outbreaks. They are able to predict. They are going against the author's view. So you can easily say 1 and 4. D is the answer. All right. Next, read the passage below and answer the questions that follow. René Descartes' assertion that ideas may be held true with certainty if they are clear and distinct provides the context for Peirce's title, How to Make Our Ideas Clear. Peirce argued that an idea may seem clear if it is familiar. Distinctness depends on having good definitions, and while definitions are desirable, they do not yield any new knowledge or certainty of the truth of empirical propositions. Data-based. Peirce argues that thought needs more than a sense of clarity. It also needs a method for making ideas clear. Once we have made an idea clear, then we can begin the task of determining its truth. The method that Peirce offers came to be known as the pragmatic method, practical one. And the epistemology, the knowledge on which it depends, is pragmatism. All right. Peirce rejected Descartes' method of doubt. We cannot doubt something for the sake of method. that we do not doubt in fact. If you don't doubt something, you just cannot, because of this method, we will doubt it now. In a later essay, he would state as his rule, dismiss, make, beliefs. This refers to Descartes' method of doubting things in the safety of his study, such things as the existence of the material world, which he did not doubt when he went out on the street. Peirce proposed that a philosophical investigation can begin from only one state of mind, namely the state of mind in which we find ourselves when we begin. If any of us examine our state of mind, we find two kinds of thoughts, beliefs and doubts. Peirce had presented the interaction of doubt and belief in an earlier essay, The Fixation of Belief. Beliefs and doubts are distinct. They are different. Beliefs consist of states of mind in which we would make a statement. Doubts are states in which we would ask a question. We experience a doubt as a sense of uneasiness and hesitation. Doubt serves as an irritant that causes us to appease it by answering a question and thereby fixing a belief and putting the mind to rest on that issue. A common example of a doubt would be arriving in an unfamiliar city and not being sure of the location of our destination address in relation to our present location. All right. We overcome this doubt and fix a belief by getting the directions. Once we achieve a belief, we can take the necessary action to reach our destination. Peirce defines a belief subjectively as something of which we are aware and which appeases the doubt. Objectively, a belief is a rule of action. The whole purpose of thought consists in overcoming a doubt and attaining a belief. Peirce acknowledges that some people like to think about things or argue about them without caring to find a true belief. But he asserts that such dilettantism or something, okay, tuka, does not constitute thought. The beliefs that we hold determine how we will act. If we believe rightly or wrongly that the building that we are trying to reach sits one block to our north, we will walk in that direction. We have beliefs about matters of fact, near and far. For example, we believe in the real objects in front of us and we believe generally accepted historical statements. We also believe in relations of ideas such as that 7 and 5 equal 12. In addition to these, we have many beliefs about science, politics, economics, religion, and so on. Some of our beliefs may be false since we are capable of error. To believe something means to think that it is true. According to Peirce, for a particular thought, which of the following statements will be correct? Okay. A belief always leads to a doubt. A doubt always leads to a belief. Well, if you cannot have the necessary evidence, how will you say that it always leads to a belief? A doubt and belief may coexist. No. You have doubts about the way, about the location, but once you get the necessary information, the doubt is gone, belief comes in. It is not, they are not able to coexist. So A gone, B gone, C gone. A belief and a doubt are not related. They are related. You cannot say they are not related. E, a doubt may lead to a belief. Yes, it may lead to. You have a doubt, you try to gather evidence or information and you may move towards belief. So it may lead to belief. It is not always, but it may. Possibility is there. All right. Answer is E for elephant. A candidate has applied for XAT, just like you. According to Peirce, it indicates that. It indicates cat kharab ho gaya. Not that, sorry. I don't want to rub salt in the wounds. My time has passed. I'm in another zone. No exams, no tests. The candidate has a belief in the XAT application process. Well, out here, he has simply applied. There is no discussion about his preparation or not, getting up early, taking CAT or not, nothing. It is just application. I think we can hold A. The candidate has a belief that XAT is a good test of ability. You don't apply for that. You apply because you believe that, okay, application process is fine. Otherwise, why would you take that step at all? The candidate is doubtful about his/her performance in XAT, then why would you apply? And this, had it been CAT, it was maybe. The candidate believes that he will perform well in XAT. We are not too sure about it. It is just you have applied. The candidate has a doubt about his performance in other MBA entrance examinations. All right, this is out of scope. I mean, I was just joking about CAT, but then this is not the scope of the statement. Okay, a candidate has applied for XAT. This means the candidate has a belief in the XAT application process. There are no second guesses. There's a lot of money involved, I think, in filling up the form itself. Next, which of the following words is the closest in meaning to dilettantism? All right, I think मैंने वहाँ पे तुक्का word बोला था. Do we have it? Belief and doubt, guess, surety and unlikelihood. I think we can go with guess. You don't gather information, but you simply keep guessing. ऐसा ही होता होगा. Next, a person thinks that she has to keep awake for 20 hours in a day to score well in an examination. 20 hours, okay, but is awake for only 15. Oh, for the above statement, which of the following options will be right according to peers? This person believes in a minimum sleep of 10 hours. ये तो mathematically ही गलत हो गया है. He is awake for only 15 hours. So max he can sleep is for 9 hours. Okay, 1 घंटा कहाँ से लाओगे माथुर साहब? This person does not have a true belief. Okay, I think this person does not have a true belief. Let's hold it. Abhi aate hain laut ke. It is a counter argument of Peirce's theory. No, it is not a counter argument. It is only a thought, a pure thought, nothing to do with action. Nahi action hai to. He is awake only for 15 hours. The person does not have a doubt. There is an element of doubt. Otherwise he will not think, he will believe. So this is gone. Answer is B. The person does not have a true belief because he thinks that he has some sort of doubt. All right. Okay, so this was the killer. Please read the passage. I like it when they say, please read the passage below, as if I wouldn't. It is sometimes said that consciousness is a mystery in the sense that we have no idea what it is. This is clearly not true. What could be better known to us than our own feelings and experiences? The mystery of consciousness is not what consciousness is, but why it is. Okay, what nahi hai, why hai. Okay. Modern brain imaging techniques have provided us with a rich body of correlations between physical processes in the brain and the experiences had by the person whose brain it is. We know, for example, that a person undergoing stimulation in her or his ventromedial hypothalamus feels hunger. The problem is that no one knows why these correlations hold. It seems perfectly conceivable that ventromedial hypothalamus stimulation could do its job in the brain without giving rise to any kind of feeling at all. No one has even the beginnings of an explanation of why some physical systems, such as the human brain, have experiences. This is the difficulty David Chalmers famously called the hard problem of consciousness. All right. Materialists hope that we will one day be able to explain consciousness in purely physical terms. But this project now has a long history of failure. Abhi tak to nahi hua aisa. The problem with materialist approaches to the hard problem is that they always end up avoiding the issue by redefining what we mean by consciousness. Yahi definition hi clear nahi kar pa rahe. They start off by declaring that they are going to solve the hard problem to explain experience. But somewhere along the way, they start using the word consciousness to refer not to experience, but to some complex behavioral functioning associated with experience, such as the ability of a person to monitor their internal states or to process information about the environment. Explaining complex behaviors is an important scientific endeavor, but the hard problem of consciousness cannot be solved by changing the subject, which let's do. In spite of these difficulties, many scientists and philosophers maintain optimism that materialism will prevail. At every point in this glorious history, it is claimed philosophers have declared that certain phenomena are too special to be explained by physical science, light, chemistry, life, only to be subsequently proven wrong by the relentless march of the scientific progress. Okay, तो कहीं कहीं पे तो ये सही हो जाता है. Before Galileo, it was generally assumed that matter had sensory qualities. Tomatoes were red, paprika was spicy, flowers were sweet smelling. How could an equation capture the taste of spicy paprika? And if sensory qualities can't be captured in a mathematical vocabulary, it seemed to follow that a mathematical vocabulary could never capture the complete nature of matter. Galileo's solution was to strip matter of its sensory qualities and put them in the soul, as we might put it in the mind. The sweet smell isn't really in the flowers, but in the soul, mind of the person smelling them. Even colors of Galileo aren't on the surfaces of the objects themselves, but in the soul of the person observing them. And if matter in itself has no sensory qualities, then it is possible in principle to describe the material world in the purely quantitative vocabulary of mathematics. This was the birth of mathematical physics. But of course, Galileo didn't deny the existence of the sensory qualities. If Galileo were to time travel to the present day and be told that scientific materialists are having a problem explaining consciousness in purely physical terms, he would no doubt reply, of course, they do. I created physical science by taking consciousness out of the physical world. Which of the following statements captures the essence of the passage? Central idea question. Materialists redefine the hard problem by changing the issue. Okay, but then this is not a central idea. This is why they are having a problem. The hard problem cannot be solved by materialist. All right, let's hold it. Materialists can explain the reasons humans see a particular color. That example, that Galileo example is there, but then is it the essence of the passage? I think not. Materialists and philosophers agree on the concept of consciousness. I guess they do not agree, so let alone be the essence, it is not even right. The hard problem can best be solved by segregation. We don't know, and then they have used the word best be solved. We can go with B. The hard problem cannot be solved by materialist, because again, if you go to Galileo, he simply says they will not be able to. Halaki, at one point, coming from the at every point in glorious history, it is claimed, philosophers have declared, but then science has made significant progress. But if you cannot define consciousness, chances are you will not be able to solve the hard problem. Okay, we have done this one, essence, yes. Which of the following options would most likely be an example of the hard problem? Okay, feeling the heat while holding a glass of hot water. Hot water, what causes heat? Hot water, ठीक है. Experiencing joy after doing well in examination. What made you experience joy? Doing well in an examination. Not the hard problem. What makes us tired after walking for 20 kilometers? The labor of walking for 20 kilometers makes us tired. Okay. Why we prostrate before, in front of a deity? What makes us prostrate before? Maybe respect, reverence. All right. Oh, I have eliminated all of them. Why do humans take birth? This is the only one that probably talks about the why. Rest of us are, I mean, this also, they have used the word why, but actually it talks about what makes us fine. So I think this one, why do humans take birth, should be, out of the options that are given, is the most likely to be the example of a hard problem. This is layer 2 actually. Okay, E for elephant. Next one. Which of the following statements can be inferred from the passage? Can be inferred. The passage argues that science could uncover all mysteries of the world. It does not argue that it could uncover all mysteries. Eliminated. The passage argues that science could uncover all mysteries of the world by giving alternative explanations. That is where they were failing. The passage argues that science could never uncover all the mysteries of the world. But time and again they have proved the philosophers wrong. So could never uncover. This is also not right. It is also an absolute option. The passage argues that science and consciousness are two different domains. I think this is mentioned somewhere. We'll go back to that. The passage argues that nature is so mysterious that humans are not even aware of the phenomena that can be researched. No, they are aware, and that is why they're trying, and maybe failing, but yes, they are aware of it. So we can go to D. The passage argues that science and consciousness are two different domains. And they give the example coming from Galileo that he separated the two of them. Please read the passage below and answer the questions that follow. Labor and capital are the opposite poles of capitalist society. This polarity begins in each enterprise and is realized on a national and even international scale as a giant duality of classes which dominates the social structure. And yet, this polarity is incorporated in a necessary identity between the two. Whatever its form, whether as money or commodities or means of production, capital is labor. Okay. So this is important. Capital is labor. It is labor that has been performed in the past, the objectified product of preceding phases of the cycle of production, which becomes capital only through appropriation by the capitalist and its use in the accumulation of more capital. Okay. Which becomes capital only through appropriation by the capitalist and its use in the accumulation of more capital. At the same time, as living labor which is purchased by the capitalist, to set the production process in motion, labor is capital. So capital is labor, labor is capital. Chacha hai, wahi bhatija hai. That is a movie, by the way. Coming from a movie, sorry. That portion of money capital which is set aside for the payment of labor, the portion which in each cycle is converted into living labor power, is the portion of capital which stands for and corresponds to the working population and upon which the latter subsists. Before it is anything else, therefore, the working class is the animate part of capital, the part which will set in motion the process that yields to the total capital its increment of surplus value. As such, the working class is first of all raw material for exploitation. As such, the working class is first of all raw material for exploitation. Okay. This working class lives a social and political existence of its own, outside the direct grip of capital. It protests and submits, rebels, or is integrated into bourgeois society, sees itself as a class or loses sight of its own existence in accordance with the forces that act upon it and the moods, conjunctures, and conflicts of social and political life. But since in its permanent existence, it is the living part of capital, its occupational structure, modes of work, and distribution through the industries of society are determined by the ongoing processes of the accumulation of capital. It is seized, released, flung into various parts of the social machinery, and expelled by others, not in accord with its own will, not in accord with its own will or self-activity, but in accord with the movement of capital. So movement of capital is perhaps more powerful than the will of the working class. Okay. While labor is capital, it is poles apart from each other because, okay, labor does not have a will of its own. Then where is capital in this option? We don't have it, eliminated. The will of capital overpasses the will of labor. Towards the end of the passage, this is what was being talked about. Capital is labor performed in the past, then they are not apart anyway. Labor exists outside the direct grip of the capital, and labor is the animate part. We can eliminate this also because again this is converging. Okay, now we are left with B and D. B says the will of capital overpowers the will of labor. In this way they are apart and one is trying to force the other. Labor exists outside the direct grip of the capital. Okay, outside the direct grip of the capital does not mean that they are poles apart. Maybe there are certain similarities which the passage has. At one stance they say labor is capital, in the other one they say capital is labor. So we can eliminate this and we can go with this. The will of the capital overpowers the will of the labor. So these are two different things where one tries to dominate the other. Okay. According to the passage, what does the working class subsist on? Okay. The benevolence of the bourgeois society? No, they get integrated into that. It's not the generosity of the bourgeois. ये तो नहीं रहेगा. The living labor, there are too many factors. It's not only the living labor. Capital which is same as labor, eliminated. The labor that is performed in the past, that becomes capital. Living labor purchased by the, yes, I think this line you would also recall, and if you can't, you go back and read it again. Living labor purchased by the capitalist. This is the thing on which they subsist. Next, which of the following statements will be true according to the passage? Capital exploits the working class. Capitalists do, not the capital. Working class, when converted into capital, is exploited by the bourgeois. As I said earlier, they get integrated, not exploited. Working class is exploited by the conflicts of social and political life. Again, it is the capitalist. The pursuit of capital accumulation results in exploitation of the working class. The pursuit of capital accumulation. Yes, this is what we can hold. Working class is the raw material for capital. Sorry. We can mark D. The pursuit of capital accumulation results in exploitation of the working class. This will be true. All right. Read the following statements and answer the questions. Question is, rank the above 5 statements so as to make it a logical sequence. Parajumble. All right. But its most advanced formulation is called its most. So it cannot be the first one because we have a pronoun. It's called superstring theory, which even predicts the precise number of dimensions, that is 10. With parajumbles, I keep my eyes on pronouns and I keep asking myself, for which noun has this pronoun been used? So we cannot start with 1. Any option that starts with 1, A3, B3, C5, D3 and E2. Okay. However, and you cannot start with however as such. So E is eliminated. At least we managed to eliminate 1. However, the theory has already swept across the major physics research laboratories of the world and has irrevocably altered the scientific landscape of modern physics, generating a staggering number of research papers in the scientific literature, over 5,000 by one count. Scientifically, the hyperspace theory goes by the names of Kaluza-Klein theory and supergravity. All right. The usual 3 dimensions of the space, length, width and breadth, and 1 of time are now extended by 6 more spatial dimensions. Okay. I think we were talking about 10. Oh, 1 and 4 make a pair, do they? And we start with 3. Let's see. We caution that the theory of hyperspace has not yet been experimentally confirmed and would in fact be exceedingly difficult to prove in the lab. All right. And however, I think I have something in my mind. We start with 3. Scientifically, the hyperspace theory goes by the names of Kaluza-Klein theory and supergravity, but its most advanced form, it's the hyperspace theory. So we have 3 and 1. 3 and 1, 3 and 4 is gone. 3 and 1, this is gone. We are left with A and D. What is different? 314, 52, 314, 25. All right, now we got it. But its most advanced formulation is called superstring theory, which even predicts the precise number of dimensions, that is 10. The usual 3 dimensions of space, length, width and breadth, are 1 of time and 1 of time are now extended by 6 more spatial dimensions. Okay. We caution that the theory of hyperspace has not yet been experimentally confirmed and would in fact be exceedingly difficult to prove in the laboratory. However, the theory has already swept across. Okay, we have got 5 and 2. So answer is 31452. That is A for apple. Next. Again, a parajumble. It is less appealing but morally more urgent to understand the actions of the perpetrators. All right. It is easy to sanctify policies or identities by deaths of the victims. The victims were people. A true identification with them would involve grasping their lives rather than grasping at their deaths. The moral danger, after all, is never that one might become a victim, but that one might be a perpetrator or a bystander. By definition, the victims are dead and unable to defend themselves from the use that others make of their deaths. Okay, I think if you read number 4, the moral danger after all, what happens that they are talking about victims, they talk about perpetrators, and they say that we should focus more on the perpetrators. That is more important. And the moral danger after all. So that's clearly hints that this would be the closing statement. So let's see. You got A, and we have C and D also. Okay, it's not working, is it? And it's got E also. All right. So we have been able to eliminate just B, because B says 5, 3, 2, 4, 1. And we have been able to eliminate D because it says 3, 1, 2, 4, 5. So you're left with A and C and E. All right. A says it is less appealing but morally more urgent to understand the actions of the perpetrators. I think we talk about the victims first. This is eliminated. We are left with C and E. 5 says by definition the victims are dead and unable to defend themselves from the use that others make of their deaths. The victims were people. A true identification with them would involve grasping their lives rather than grasping at their deaths. But again, if you go through the flow, okay, I think we start with 3. I'm just trying to. 3 says the victims were people. A true identification with them would involve grasping their lives rather than grasping at their deaths. It is less appealing, but morally more urgent to understand the actions of the perpetrators. It is easy to sanctify policies or entities by deaths of the. Just a moment. This is the one we are holding now. 352. Sorry. The victims were people. A true identification with them would involve grasping their lives rather than grasping at their deaths. By definition, sorry, I read something else. By definition, the victims are dead and unable to defend themselves from the use that others make of their deaths. All right. It is easy to sanctify policies or identities by the deaths of the victim. It is less appealing but morally more urgent to understand the actions of the perpetrators. The moral danger, after all, is never that one might become a victim, but that one might be a perpetrator or a bystander. Now, a lesson learned from my mistake here, that is, whenever you choose your answer, please make sure you read the entire combination, because while reading, I somehow figured that, okay, boss, I am going in the wrong direction. So please make sure once you choose your answer, you read it. With parajumbles, it happens to me. All right, but yes, we got the answer. It is C, that is 3, 5, 2, 1 and 4. Next one. Read the following paragraph and answer the question that follows. Aarti is planning for higher studies and her future goals include working as a manager of a non-profit organization designed to provide assistance to underrepresented populations. All right, non-profit and underrepresented populations. Aarti researched the mission statements of various colleges and discovered that College X, a small private college with a fee of rupees 8 lakhs per year, was dedicated to producing compassionate and curious leaders. Okay, jahan chahti hain. College Y, a large institute with a fee of rupees 9 lakh per year, okay, promoted itself as a leading research facility. Based on her research, she decided to apply to College X rather than College Y. All right. College X basically is totally aligned with what her aim is. Which of the following options is the most likely explanation of Aarti's decision? A direct relationship exists between a college's cost and the quality of education it provides. That way, though, X was charging 1 lakh less, right? So does it mean that the quality of education goes down? Had this been the case, तो आरती वहां अप्लाई कर देती वाई में. Students apply to smaller colleges that offer more personalized attention from professors. We don't know this, if they offer or not. A large research university cannot prepare students for a career as a non-profit executive. Cannot prepare. It may be, I mean, it's an absolute option. It may have been able, like if you go to, if you want to pursue a career in HR, then XLRI scores well above many of the IIMs. Okay, but ऐसा नहीं that IIMs cannot. Okay. Students apply to colleges with mission statements that align with their goals. Yes. Rest of the stuff matters little to them. The best colleges have the best mission statements. Hence, students select a college with the best mission statement. Well, this is very subjective. What do you consider best? Answer D. Students apply to colleges with mission statements that align with their goals. Next, carefully read the following statement. The payoff from in education is so, and that it is almost as a predictor of economic change over a 5 to 10 year period. All right. From productivity to nahi hoga, so B is gone. All right. And in the end, okay, is so small, insignificant. ये तो synonyms से हो गया, small and significant. And we have got options like fast and significant, slow and erratic, slow and predictable. Okay. So, and powerful, it doesn't end on a positive note, it seems. So C is also gone. We are left with A, D and E. Okay. And the payoff from expenditure in education is so small and insignificant that it is almost useless as a predictor of economic change over a 5 to 10 year period. Okay. The payoff from investment in education is so slow and erratic that it is almost useless. नहीं, erratic होता तो as a predictor of economic change over a 5 to 10 year period. Small and significant ये तो हटता है बेटा यहां से. अब आए हम लोग D और E के पास. The payoff from investment in education is so slow and erratic that it is almost useless as a predictor of economic change over a 5 to 10 year period. Erratic hota to useful hota, but it is so predictable that is irrelevant as a predictor. I think we go with E. Let's read it. Don't panic. The payoff from investment in education is so slow and predictable that it is almost irrelevant. It is predictable, right? And hence doesn't make any sense as a predictor of economic change over a 5 to 10 year period. So answer is E for elephant. Next. Carefully read the following paragraphs. The Lannisters, Game of Thrones, had gold than the Tyrells until the Lannister army sacked Highgarden and took the Tyrell fortune to pay back the Iron Bank. On the other hand, the Northern army has then 10,000 men, and therefore Jon needs to bend the knee to Daenerys. What happens in the story next is dependent on George R. Martin, the writer of the series, for he has not written anything further, and we hope George R. Martin will get around to finishing the book, but as it happens, book releases are delayed. Okay. Gold, uncountable noun, so fewer options are gone. The Lannisters had less gold than the Tyrells until the Lannister army sacked Highgarden and took the Tyrell fortune to pay back the Iron Bank. On the other hand, the Northern army has, okay, A and C are same, fewer, okay, fewer than 10,000 men, and therefore Jon needs to bend the knee to Daenerys. What happens in the story next is dependent on George R. Martin, the writer of the series. For some time, he has not written anything. Okay, for a certain period, he has not written anything. I think that goes, in this case, there should be two words, some and time. We go with A. I think we have the answer. For some time, he has not written anything further, and we hope George R. Martin will get around to finishing the book sometime. Maybe it's uncertain, and hence we use one word. But as it happens, sometimes book releases are delayed. We can safely go with answer A. This was the deal breaker. Which of the following sentences contains correct and meaningful usages of the underlined words? Underlined words. Let's see, something must be telling. Okay. Vikram's approach to the problem was unique from Harpreet's, and he hadn't expected no criticism from her. Grammatically, it should be different and not unique. So we can eliminate A and D. B. Vikram's approach to the problem was different from Harpreet's, but he had not expected no criticism from her. Was different. He had not expected no criticism. He had maybe the right way to write is expected. He had not expected criticism from her. We'll make this C. Vikram's approach to the problem was different from Harpreet's, but he had expected no criticism from her. We hold it. Vikram's approach to the problem was different from Harpreet's, and he. There's a contradiction. It is not addition. Answer C. Vikram's approach to the problem was different from Harpreet's, but he had expected no criticism from her. शायद कर दिया हरप्रीत ने criticize. Read the following poem and answer the questions that follow. All right. Spirit that lives in this world and does not wear the shirt of love, such as existence in a deep disgrace. Be foolish in love, because love is all there is. ये पेपर खराब कर देगा बीच में ऐसा poem. There is no way into presence except through love exchange. If someone asks, but what is love? Answer, dissolving the will. True freedom comes to those who have escaped the question of free will and fate. All right, so escape the will. And you have escaped the free will and fate. Love is an emperor. The two worlds play across him. He barely notices their tumbling game. Love and lover live in eternity. Other desires are substitute for that way of being. How long do you lay embracing a corpse? Love rather the soul which cannot be held. Anything born in spring dies in the fall, but love is not seasonal. With wine pressed from grapes, expect a hangover. But this love path has no expectations. You are uneasy riding the body. Dismount, travel lighter, wings will be given. Be clear like mirror holding nothing. Be clean of pictures and the worry that comes with images. Gaze into what is not ashamed or afraid of any truth. Contain all human faces in your own without any judgment of them. Okay. Be pure emptiness. What is inside of that, you ask? Silence is all I can say. Lovers have some secrets they keep. There is no secret. Be pure in emptiness. All right. How are the words free will, fate, and will used in the poem above? Okay, escape. Fine. All the three words are opposites of love. These words are used as a hallmark of an intelligent person. The poem is not about this one. Free will and will connote self-determination, while fate connotes loss of control. I think it is more about escaping. Let's just go to that part again. Dissolving the will. True freedom comes to those who have escaped the question of free will and fate. These are all opposites of love only. Okay. Free will and will okay. These are used as something that corpses do not possess. Totally irrelevant. So ये दो तो irrelevance पे limit हो गया. Free will and will are synonymous, while fate is an antonym to both. Technically, this is also incorrect. So I think we can happily go with A. All the three words are opposites of love. You got to escape from all of them. Dissolve the will. Escape from free will and fate. Which of the following is the closest interpretation of lovers have some secrets that they keep? Okay. The secret refers to profundity of knowledge. The wisdom not discussed. The secret is not to have any secret. Be empty. The secret refers to freedom from emptiness. Have that emptiness. Freedom nahi tha yahan se. The secret refers to being a fine judge of human quality. The secret refers to being a fine judge. I think it was stated that you should not be judgmental. Own without any judgment of them. Okay. So we have eliminated A and freedom from emptiness and judgment. Okay. The secret is about loving someone as much as you love yourself. This part is not talked about. Answer B. The secret is not to have any secret. Read the following paragraph and answer the questions that follow. Question that follows. Okay. The size of oceanic waves is a function of the velocity of the wind and of fetch, the length of the surface of the water subject to those winds. Got it? The average impact of waves against a coastline is a function of the size of the waves and the shape of the sea bottom. Okay. The size is a function of velocity of wind and of fetch. Okay. The average impact of waves against a coastline is a function of, okay, average impact is a function of size of the waves and the shape of the sea bottom. The degree of erosion on coastline is a function of the average impact of waves and the geologic composition of the coastline. Okay. According to the above paragraph, which of the following options will be true? The fetch of wind is related to the shape of the sea bottom. The fetch of the wind, the size of oceanic wave is a function of velocity of the wind and of fetch. That is the length of the surface of the water subject to those winds. So it is not related to the shape of the sea bottom. Eliminated. The size of oceanic waves will not fluctuate far from average. We do not have enough data from the statement. The size of the oceanic wave is correlated with the shape of the sea bottom. The size of the oceanic wave, again, just like the fetch, the size of the oceanic wave is a function of the velocity of the wind and of fetch. It is not. It has nothing to do with size of the oceanic wave. It is correlated with the shape of the sea bottom. Degree of erosion on coastline is not related with the velocity of wind. Is not related with the velocity of wind. Just a moment. The degree is a function of the average impact. Average impact is a function of size of the waves and shape of the sea bottom. And size of the wave is a function of velocity of wind and of fetch. Velocity of wind, okay. It is related. Last one. Degree of erosion on coastline is related to shape of the sea bottom. The degree of erosion is a function of average impact, and average impact is a function of size of the waves and shape of the sea bottom. Hence, it is related. Good one. More of a reasoning question. Answer E. Read the following paragraph and answer the question that follows. Indian religious and ethical space is different from that of the Western countries. The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, etc. enrich Indian religious and social space. Details of the treatment of human values and dharmas have a long tradition. They are often compared, contrasted and debated by the characters in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. In the process, it has given birth to a tradition of dharma, which has been transferred from generation to generation. Ethical discourse was not a one-time affair. From time to time, religious leaders from various regions of India nourished and strengthened the Indian ethical arena. Tiruvalluvar, 2nd century BC, Kabir from Uttar Pradesh, 15th century AD, Nanak from Punjab, 15th century AD, Alvars and Nayanmars of Tamil Nadu, 8th century AD, Basaveswara of Karnataka, 12th century AD, Sri Chaitanya, 16th century were prominent. Okay. Which of the following assumptions will make the above paragraph redundant? Make it bogus. All religious leaders mentioned in the paragraph preach the same message and it is transferred from one generation to the next. You can assume this when you write the paragraph. I think we eliminate this one. Western religious spaces do not have details of treatment of principle of dharma. I think we can assume this also because different from that of the Western countries. So it talks about the difference. So it's okay. Ramayana and Mahabharata have made it possible for religious leaders to build the tradition. Yes. Western civilizations have been traversed by different kind of religious leaders, different kind. Western ethical and religious space has a long tradition of treatment of human values and dharma. Now, if they also do the same thing, they cannot be different. So, this is the assumption that will make the above paragraph redundant. Next one, read the following statement. Manager seeks approval for conducting a training program on openness. He puts forward the following arguments in favor of the program to his CEO. Which of the following arguments is the least likely to have a logical fallacy? Least likely to have a logical fallacy. Must have some logic. That is the question. A. We did a pilot training program with a group of employees. Post the program, one of the participants was open to new ideas. Now the program has already been done. And results are out. So why would you do it again? There is some lack of logic. This program should be good for our organization since it is designed by a leading consultant. Sweeping statement. My father smoked all his life, but he didn't have any disease. Doesn't mean that anybody who smokes for life will not have a disease. Sweeping statement, beta. Gone. Internal studies conducted across groups and locations showed that openness increases innovation. Maybe you can talk in favor of this. We have only two options. We can either train our employees or on openness or suffer the consequences. Dhamki. If you really care about the organization, you should approve this training program. What are the other arguments you have? It's only if you really care, give us the way the program helps people of the organization. So we go back to C because out here it is very clear, increases openness, increases innovation. So answer is C. This is logical. Read the following paragraph. All right. Music probably does something interesting, explains neuropsychologist Catherine Loveday of the University of Westminster. It stimulates the brain in a very powerful way because of our emotional connection with it. Unlike brain games, playing an instrument is a rich and complex experience, which means this is not a rich and complex experience. This is because it is integrating information from senses like vision, hearing, and touch, along with fine movements. This can result in long-lasting changes in the brain. This can also be applicable in the business world. Go through the following statements. Playing a musical instrument is a unique experience involving vision, hearing, and touch. Well, it is an experience, but whether it is a unique one cannot be deciphered from the paragraph. So we eliminate. Sorry, we are still going through the statement. Abhi main kya kar raha hu? Haan. Two, instrumental musicians are far more creative than vocalists. We don't have the data for this, by the way. Playing brain games does not integrate various senses and movements as much as playing a musical instrument. I think this is true because it says unlike. Integrating the five senses is critical in the business world. Okay, right? What do they want us to do? Okay. Which of the above statements can definitely be interpreted based on the passage above? Definitely be interpreted. The first one cannot be interpreted because it is, we can't say it is unique from the passage. Instrumental musicians are far more creative than vocalists. We haven't talked about the vocalists, so we don't have enough data for this. Playing brain games, we hold this. Integrating the five senses is critical to the critical tha, just applicable tha. I think it was applicable. So we are left only with 3. I hope we have the option. Statement 1 only incorrect. Statement 1 and 2. Statement 3, yes. 1 tha nahi, gone. 4 nahi hai. All right. Answer is C. Next one. Carefully read the following statement. Though he thought of himself as an person, his boss's abusive behavior made him talk back. Okay, तो अच्छा बंदा था, but boss गाली दे रहा था, तो उसने बात वापस उसने counter किया. However, as he engaged in an with his boss, all he got in response was an which only filled him with something. Okay. Nonchalant, remonstration, philippic, and ennui. Okay. Nonchalant, somebody who appears not to care or worry too much about it. Like sometimes there's a in a match against Bangladesh, Hardik Pandya played an uppercut. and he didn't even look back. He played the uppercut and kept staring at the bowler, chewing his gum. That was nonchalance of the highest order. All right. Remonstration, when you counter somebody's statement. Philippic is a statement that is specifically directed towards someone. And ennui is you get so bored that you become totally dissatisfied. That is, I mean, absolute dissatisfaction would be ennui. Okay. Though he thought of himself as nonchalant, insouciant. Okay, we can hold these two. Philippic, ennui, and okay, fine. Which only filled with remonstration. I don't think we can end with remonstration as well. So this is also gone. Now we are left with A and B. His boss's abusive behavior made him talk back. However, as he engaged in protest रहेगा बेटा, remonstration रहेगा. Protest है तो remonstration second है. I think we can go with A. देख लेते हैं. Though he thought of himself as a nonchalant person, his boss's abusive behavior made him talk back. However, as he engaged in a remonstration with his boss, all he got in response was a philippic, which only filled him with ennui. Got it. Answer A. And we have reached the end of the document, which means we have covered all the questions that were asked in VALR section XAT 2018. Hope it helps. Thank you.